All right, we're diving into a philosophical battle today that has been shaping Chinese culture for thousands of years. The big question is this: should a society run on a moral code or a strict legal one? It's really a debate about what makes us good citizens in the first place.
So let's just start with a wild idea. Imagine a world with no laws that punish you. The only thing that stops you from doing something wrong is your own internal sense of shame. Now, this isn't just some random thought experiment. It's actually the very core of a philosophy that has totally shaped one of the world's oldest civilizations.
Okay, so let's meet the man at the center of all this, Confucius. Now, the first thing you have to know is that Confucius wasn't starting a religion. He wasn't interested in the afterlife or, big metaphysical questions. His entire philosophy was planted right here on Earth, and it was all about one thing: figuring out the absolute best way to organize society and live a good life.
And at the very heart of his thinking was this really fundamental belief: people are born good. So if someone messes up, it's not because they're an evil person, it's seen as a failure of education. And for Confucius, you know who the most important teachers were? The rulers. Their moral example was supposed to be the bright shining light for everybody else.
So this whole way of thinking set up a huge clash between two really powerful ideas about how to govern people. And these two concepts, li and fa, they became these two opposing pillars for how to think about law and order in traditional Chinese society.
So first up, we've got li. The best way to think about li is as your internal moral compass. It's the whole code of good behavior, proper rituals, and treating people with respect. Confucius argued that if you rule with li and someone breaks those norms, they'll feel this deep personal sense of shame. And that shame, that's the thing that corrects their behavior and keeps society in harmony.
And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you've got fa. Fa is all about external punitive law. The kind of system we're pretty familiar with today. It keeps order using punishments. Confucius? Oh, he hated this idea. He was sure that if you only use fa, people never develop that inner moral compass. They just learn how to not get caught, without ever actually feeling bad about what they did.
Yeah, this slide really breaks it down, doesn't it? You've got li, the moral code, on one side. It's internal, it's about shame, it builds character. That was the ideal. Then you've got fa, the legal code. It's external, relies on punishment, and just enforces compliance. For Confucius, that was just a crude necessity.
So you're probably wondering, okay, this idea of li sounds nice, but how did it actually work? How did these ideals really shape society? Well, it all came down to a very specific, and let me tell you, a very rigid social structure. The entire Confucian world, and I mean everything, was organized around these 5 basic relationships. And you'll notice something right away. Almost all of them are top-down: sovereign over subject, father over son, husband over wife, elder over younger. The only one between equals was friend to friend. Each person had a job to do. The one on top was supposed to be a good role model, and the one on the bottom was supposed to be respectful and loyal. That was literally the blueprint for all of society.
And these rules weren't just, suggestions. They were incredibly concrete. Our source gives us a really stark example. A wife was required by the rules of Laha to submit to what her husband decided, even if it drove the family into poverty. Her number one duty was to maintain harmony. And this shows you something really important. This ideal of a perfect, orderly society was built on a foundation of pretty serious social inequality.
But it wasn't all just about submission. The philosophy also has this incredibly powerful idea of kindness at its core, which we all recognize today as the golden rule. So this shows you that even inside this really strict hierarchy, there was this deep-seated belief that empathy and respect for each other were absolutely essential.
So you've got this really elegant idea of a society that runs purely on morality. It sounds great, right? Well, here comes a reality check. If you're an emperor trying to rule a massive, complex empire, can you really rely on just people's sense of shame to keep order? Historically, the answer was a big no. A compromise had to be made.
And here's basically how it all went down. You start with the ideal, Confucius's idea of ruling by moral excellence, by li. But then political reality hits, and emperors realize they need the power of fa, of punitive laws, to actually stay in control. And the result was this mashup of the two, a process that historians call the Confucianization of the law.
So what did this Confucianized law actually look like? Well, in some ways, the legal code got a bit softer. A really harsh punishment like amputation might get changed to flogging instead. But, and this is a huge but,
all that social inequality from lid, that got officially baked right into the legal code. So, for example, members of the imperial family could get exemptions from certain punishments. The whole idea of one law for everybody, it kind of went out the window.
And this ancient compromise didn't just disappear into the history books. Nope. It has left a deep and lasting legacy on China's legal culture, one that you can still see having an impact today. That deep-seated skepticism toward formal law, toward fatma, it created a culture that really prefers to handle disagreements outside of a courtroom. Even today, there's this strong emphasis on finding a compromise, on mediation. Taking someone to court is often seen as a complete failure, a breakdown of social harmony. It's the absolute last resort, not the first step. And that is a direct echo of that ancient philosophical fight.
And that brings us to our final question, something to really chew on. Our source points out that these old Confucian ideals, like submission, obedience, and always working to maintain social harmony, are sometimes brought up by leaders today. So it makes you wonder, when we hear these calls for unity and order, are we just hearing modern political talking points, or are we actually hearing the distant but still really powerful echoes of Confucius?
Knowledge transcends time. Truth endures.